Welcome back to another episode of Filthy Hope. If it's your first time here for whatever reason, welcome. We're so glad you're with us today. On this show, we spend time in the grey spaces where Jesus, life and culture intersect. As always, I'm your host, Jonty, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rev Ness.
Hey.
How's it going?
I'm all right. But you haven't been great, brother.
No, it's been almost a month, 3 and a bit weeks of being unwell. So if my voice is a bit croaky today, I do apologise. But
bit of a Cophosaurus Rex.
yeah, been going through it a little bit. So have you, which we've covered in recent weeks as well.
I'm alive, as Celine says. I'm over that.
Yeah, so we'll be pushing through today.
Sick of
What you
talking
won't
about
know
it.
because you'll hear the edited version is if I have a coughing fit halfway through.
That's right.
Maybe I'll leave it in for the
Maybe I'll just do a
post-credit
face.
scene.
I'll go like this and you'll know that we've just cut out a coughing fit.
Yeah.
How about that?
That was a treat for the listeners as well.
Yeah. You're hilarious, Jonty.
So today we're going to do something a little bit different to what we normally do because at time of recording and also when this comes out, the Oscars have just happened.
Yeah.
So I thought, being a big old movie nerd, I don't need much prompting to have a nerdy conversation about movies. Did you watch any of the Oscars?
Yeah, I did. I loved watching. It seemed like the algorithm knows that I love Wicked.
Yep.
So I got every single clip of the Wicked opening number and Somewhere Over the Rainbow multiple times. Every outlet seemed to know that I wanted to watch that. So I watched it and cried many, many times. And it was just a beautiful way. I was just so disappointed they didn't win.
Wicked.
Yeah.
They won a couple of things.
Yeah, I know, but I was sure. I had this feeling one of them was going to get Best Actress. Yeah, in a musical. Is that a?
At the Academy Awards, there's Best Actress in a leading role and in a supporting role. So I think Cynthia Erivo was nominated for leading actress and Ariana for supporting actress.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised that neither of them got up, and I was surprised with who won. But I haven't seen that movie, so I'm dying.
Which we'll go. Yeah, we'll go through a bunch
more
of them.
about it. Yeah.
What do you think of Conan as the host? You're a Conan fan?
No, not hugely.
Really?
Yeah, I find that he bugs me. He sort of irritates me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. I feel really judgy saying that, but I'm even irritated by how he looks. He doesn't make me want to watch him.
Like a ginger Frankenstein.
I don't know what it is about his face.
I said that being a ginger as well.
You are? Yeah. I don't know what that is. I didn't even realise he was a ranger. Yeah. That's not the reason. I don't know. There's just something about his persona.
Very performative.
Yeah.
Like lots of people, I don't know if you're across Hot Ones. Have you watched any of that?
No.
So it's a YouTube series where Sean Evans is the interviewer, interviews a celebrity and they eat progressively hotter chicken wings.
Oh, I do know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it starts from like very mild to the final wing is insanely hot and they do the last dab where you dip in the sauce as well as have the chicken wing. And lots of people either loved or hated Conan's appearance because Conan went full, like he was pouring hot sauce into his mouth and rubbing it on his face and going full like over the top. Oh. Which is kind of Conan's shtick.
Yeah.
So you definitely a love or hate type thing, I find.
Yeah, not hate, not love, just blah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
what did you think?
We'll go, yeah, I mean, so no huge surprises for me. In a sec, we'll go through the major categories and recap what happened. Generally, I mean, maybe we can start with Best Picture.
Yeah.
Normally, I do my best to see all of the nominations before the Academy Awards happen. So we've got Anora, which won, phenomenal. The Brutalist, which I haven't seen yet. I was overseas when it was showing in theatres, so I didn't get a chance to see it. A Complete Unknown, which is the Timothée Chalamet, Bob Dylan
movie?
biopic.
Yep.
Have you seen that one?
No.
Haven't seen that one either. Conclave, which we've spoken about a fair bit. Dune Part 2, which I've spoken about a little bit on this show as well. Have you had a chance to see it?
No.
Amelia Perez, which the one we were just talking about. I'm Still Here, which I'm actually seeing next week. Nickel Boys, which is fantastic. It's streaming on Amazon Prime. The Substance, which is a film that I love.
With Demi Moore
and Margaret Qualley. And Wicked.
Yeah, right. Was that a bit of an upset that Demi Moore didn't win? There was because she'd won was it the SAGs or?
Yeah, it might have been a Golden Globe maybe.
Globe,
I can't remember.
Right. Yep.
I get them all kind of, they all cloud together in one for me, all the different awards. But yeah, she'd won one of the big ones, I think, for Best Actress. There's a small amount of irony for those that have seen The Substance. The plot is around Margaret Qualley being the younger, quote unquote, hotter version of Demi Moore, taking all the acclaim. So Mikey Madison, who's phenomenal in Anora, winning. There was a lot of like, oh, that's kind of like what happens in The Substance happening in real life.
Whoa, Jonty,
which is kind of interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. So do you know much about Anora at all?
No, other than she thanked the sex workers that obviously informed her about the movie.
Yeah.
Love to know a little bit about what the synopsis is. How does that play out?
Yeah, so Sean Baker, who's the filmmaker behind, and he also won an Oscar for writing and for editing on Anora. And directing, I can't remember. He won 4, including Best Picture. He's known for shooting and writing in and around kind of the sex work subject matter.
Okay.
He's kind of found a little niche there where he just is trying to, I guess, make it not so much of a taboo.
Yep.
So like previous films like Tangerine, to a certain extent, The Florida Project, certainly Red Rocket, which was his one before Anora. But Anora is about Anora, who's a young sex worker, a young Russian, like I think he's like 20 or 21, like rich son of some, which becomes important later, probably some sort of mob boss, comes to America.
But we don't know he's a rich mob boss at this stage when he's buying her services,
he's just a young, a kind of obnoxious but kind of endearing rich Russian kid who's in the States. And he pays for her services, and then at a certain point he goes, well, can I pay you to marry me? To be my girlfriend.
Oh, my girlfriend,
for an undisclosed. And then at a certain point he proposes to her and she's like, don't fuck around. Are you serious? And he's like, no, I want to marry you. So they get married. And then the Russian family find out. And that's where the drama of the movie happens.
Oh, wow. Is he really in love with her? Or is it, does he want to escape? That's kind of what the movie's about. Are you not going to give it away?
Well, I don't want to spoil it for people that are going to watch it.
Oh, come on, Jonty.
You got to watch the movie.
It's a post-Oscars wrap. Yeah. Surely you can unpack it. Well, just give us a bit more.
Yeah, so, I mean, what happens next is a combination. It starts as like a raunchy rom-com kind of vibe.
Okay.
Then it becomes almost like a slapstick comedy when the Russians show up at the mansion. And then it gets really tense.
Is there a bit of killing?
Because there's the mob.
Yeah, wow.
People get involved.
Do they not want him marrying this young?
Well, they find out that he's just married
a hooker,
a sex worker, and they're like, no, that's not happening. You're embarrassing our family.
Wow.
Yeah, and so hijinks ensue, and then I won't spoil how it ends. But for people that have seen the movie, I'd love to hear what you think about the ending in particular. It's one of those endings that leaves a lot to be discussed about what it means and where that leaves. It's interesting. She refuses to refer to herself as Anora. She's Annie. Okay. Don't call me Anora. I'm Annie, which is interesting that they've decided to call the film Anora. There's some stuff going on there about identity and self and masking, I suppose, as well, because she's definitely, like, we see some of her home life when she's not at work, and it's a very different persona.
And is she Anora at home?
No, she's still Annie, but she definitely puts on the character of who
Anora,
she's playing when she's at work. Yeah.
So as the sex worker, she identifies as Anora?
No, she's just Annie.
Annie.
Don't call me Anora. My name's Annie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's got me hooked now. Now I want to go and see it.
Yeah, so really raunchy, really like hilarious.
Okay.
Actually, I will tell you this, a fight almost broke out in the theatre where I watched it. There was a couple that looked roughly my age, and then behind them a group of maybe 3 or 4 friends, also maybe roughly my age, maybe a bit younger. And as far as I can tell, because I was locked into the movie, the female in the couple turned around and asked the row of guys behind them to
be quiet. Yep.
At which point they clearly didn't take kindly to that and had some choice words for her. So people that on both sides had stood up and were about to throw hands at each other.
Oh, wow.
And it went on for like 15, 20 minutes with ushers coming in and being like, we're going to have to kick you out. And they're like, no, we're not going. We've paid for the movie. So they go leave, and then 10 minutes later they've started arguing again.
Oh, Jonty.
All while something very similar is happening on screen.
The movie.
People that have seen Anora know what happens in the middle. There's a section in the middle that goes for about 20 minutes, which is just people shouting at each other.
Oh, wow.
And it just escalates and escalates and escalates, and it's hilarious. That's an interesting one because it's an independent film. I don't know this for sure, but I'd with a fair bit of confidence be able to go back and look at the last 10 to 15 years of Best Picture nominees and winners, and the majority would be studio films.
Yeah, that's right. And I wonder what kind of budget an independent has compared to the big box office budgets of,
It's interesting, and I'm just going to Google it so I get this right, but from memory, it's in the realm of 10 to 15 million.
Okay, which isn't a lot of money.
Which, what we've sort of seen as the studios have homogenized into like fewer and fewer bigger studios, especially with streaming and companies just absorbing smaller companies, like the big one recently, Disney acquiring Fox, is that we get more and more and more like sub $1 million budget films and high, like $100 and up $1 million budget films. Whereas if you go all the way up until about 10 years ago, like the meat and potatoes of what you'd see at the cinema were produced between 1 and 30 million, like that kind of mid-budget.
Wow.
Those don't really exist anymore outside of independent cinema. So let me just have a quick look.
So something like, while you're looking...
$6 million US, which is not very much at all.
Yeah, wow.
At all.
So now it's going to make bank.
For sure. And that's the other thing to always remind yourself at this time of year is the Oscars is nothing other than a marketing thing for everyone.
Yeah, because we'll all want to go and see it now.
It's an industry award show that then turns into a marketing thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, Conclave has been showing for, it opens in Australia in January, which is perfect for Oscar season because it plays for a month and then it gets nominated, so you keep playing it.
And everybody's gone, quick, we need to get out and see that.
That's right.
It did well.
It did very well. For people that want to hear our thoughts about Conclave, go back a couple of episodes ago.
But it won, what was it, best screenplay, did you say?
Best adapted screenplay.
So what does that actually mean, Jonty? Is it purely how they've taken the book and turned that into dialogue and what that looks like on screen? Because what is then the award for best screenplay?
Yeah, so there's best original screenplay and best adapted screenplay. So in the case of Conclave, and Anora actually won best original screenplay, so they're a good comparison. In the case of Conclave, it's a novel by Robert Harris, which I also read over the last couple of weeks while I've been quite unwell. And so that's a case of there's a source text that already exists and someone is adapting it to a different medium. So in the case of Conclave, it's actually very, very similar to the novel. That's not always the case. So like I think of a film like Annihilation, which is a science fiction film from about 6 or 7 years ago now, is also adapted from a book. But when Alex Garland wrote that screenplay based on the book, he didn't actually go back to the book. He wrote the screenplay based on his memory of reading the book. So it's very, very different from the source novel, whereas something like Conclave, a lot of the dialogue is lifted directly from the book. And I can speak to this directly because I'm currently in the 3rd or 4th draft phase of adapting a novel for the screen. So if anyone wants to talk to me about a screen adaptation for Out of Dark by Cormac McCarthy, give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. It's a process of going... because the film and literature are two very different mediums. One is all in the word and then in the prose. And I actually think one of cinema's biggest strengths is not in the words, but in the
image,
in the striking image. And so, there's a lot of dialogue in that screenplay I've written that's lifted from the novel directly. But there's also lots of scenes that have not only been cut, but been amalgamized and reworked. So there's elements from different scenes collated into one scene. A bunch of stuff that's just not in the movie. Characters that I've completely removed. Fans of Harry Potter will know how this works intimately, because if you've read the books and then you go watch the movies, you go, I remember that from the book, but also there's this entire 300-page section in the Order of the Phoenix that just isn't there.
Yeah, interesting.
Whereas something like Honora didn't exist until the movie came out. So it's an entirely original piece of work.
So when they're writing Honora, they're not writing the book. No. They're actually writing a screenplay.
Yeah.
So they're writing the dialogue. He or she is visualising the camera angles, what they want to encapsulate into the visual.
Yeah,
music.
It often depends, and because screenwriting is unique in the sense that it's not written to be read. It's written to be a blueprint for something to get made.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what the movie is. So, for example, someone like Sean Baker with Honora, he's writing the screenplay knowing that he's the one that's going to direct it.
Yeah.
So he can be hyper specific with like,
what he needs.
I haven't read that script. I'd actually be curious to read it, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's directions in there like close on blah.
Yeah.
Like directing notes. Whereas if you're writing on spec, which is what something like Out of Dark, my screenplay is, I have no interest in directing, and a vast majority of screenplays are written by people that don't direct. You tend to leave that stuff out, and if you leave it in, the director will just ignore it. And almost a lot of the time you'll see written by blah, blah, and blah, blah, which often is the case where someone's written the screenplay, it's the rights have been bought, and the director has actually gone in and tinkered with it because he knows, or he or she knows exactly. So I'm saying he because I'm thinking of Sean Baker specifically, will know what they want to do with it. So they'll make adjustments. So it really depends on the screenplay. Some of them can be hyper specific in terms of like, this is what's on camera and this is what the camera's doing. Other times it's literally just like almost dot points of what you want to see visually, and then it goes over to the different departments to make that happen however they want to make it happen.
And they kind of future-proof any films that I've worked on, they future-proof their post-edit by doing a wide shot, a one shot, which is you, and a two shot, which is you and whoever you're having the dialogue with. So you have to actually film it exactly the same, 3 takes that are perfectly on point.
Yep.
And so I suppose then the director in post-production has a choice of where it's where they want to go with that, what that needs to look like.
Not only which takes they want to use, but they can almost...
which angle they want to use.
They can rewrite the whole movie in the edit.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to happen in the order that it's written or filmed. And mostly, with some exceptions, films aren't shot in chronological order.
No, that's right.
Because that's massively impractical just for productions. So like Sean Baker won Best Editing for Honora as well. And he actually, in his acceptance speech, said this is super gratifying because like 30% of the writing process happens in the edit.
Yeah, interesting.
You're sitting there in the editing suite going, oh, that's what I meant by this, and I'm seeing this connection with this. And so you actually almost rewrite the movie in the edit.
So clever.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Just having a look through.
What else have you
so
got
we've got in directing, Sean Baker won for Best Director, but we've also got Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, James Mangold for A Complete Unknown, Jacques Audiard, I think is how you say his name, for Amelia Perez, and Coralie Farget for The Substance. I was hoping Coralie Farget would get the nod for that one.
Interesting.
She's a French director. Her previous film, Revenge, is also fantastic, but I think The Substance is like a movie we're going to be talking about it in 20 years.
Do you think?
I think it's that amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. So do you know anything about The Substance?
No, refresh me, is there killing in that? There is, isn't there?
Yeah. So
it's not like the Bridgerton. It's a bit scary.
It's a body horror movie.
Yes.
So
I knew I hadn't seen it.
It's almost like a fairy tale or a fable where Demi Moore is a famous actress, personality, exercise instructor. She has her own exercise TV show, but she's aging.
Right.
Demi Moore's 50s, I'm guessing.
Oh,
she looks stunning.
More than that, I'm sure. Would she be in her 60s?
In her middle age.
Yeah.
So her character is told, hey, you're aging out we're cancelling your show and we're doing auditions for who's going to replace you. She sees she's getting some sort of, she's in the hospital for something, and someone hands her a little note with like an address on it. She's like, oh, that's weird. So she goes, and essentially she goes to this weird lab and subscribes to the substance, which is like it's like a subscription fee, and you get sent these packages that allow you to make a younger
version of yourself.
So she does and there's like the vial of green liquid that she injects, and she basically there's a very funny opening sketch to the Oscars that Conan did, where in the movie her back splits open, and Margaret Qualley, who's roughly my age, crawls out, and so Conan in the sketch comes out the back of Demi Moore and then forgets his keys, has to go back in, and but only one of them can be out in the world at any one time. And the key thing is, remember, you are one. You are not two separate people. You are the same person. So for 7 days, Margaret Qualley goes out and gets the job, but then has to go back and swap places with Demi Moore. And they're explicitly told, don't mess around with the substance. Like, you have to follow the instructions. So, of course, Margaret Qualley goes, oh, but I want to be around for more than 7 days.
I want to have a crack.
So she fucks around with the substance, and crazy things happen. For people that have seen the movie, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Wow.
I just thought it was funny with the Academy Awards. They probably showed the entirety of the 2 or so minutes of that movie that you could get away with showing on primetime TV.
Okay.
Nudity, gore.
Really? Gore,
I mean, Demi Moore's back splitting open and Margaret Qualley crawling out is like just the beginning.
A vomitron?
Or body horror. So when we talk about body horror, it's not necessarily about scary. It's about the human body doing things that it shouldn't. Mm-hmm. So David Cronenberg is a famous director. He's kind of known for not launching, but like being a major proponent of the body horror movement with things like Videodrome, The Fly. So think of Jeff Goldblum slowly disintegrating and turning into a fly. That's classic body horror stuff.
You love that stuff, don't you?
I love it, yeah. Because in the case of The Fly and The Substance and Videodrome and things like that, what it allows you to do is take an idea, like in the case of The Substance, some people think it's directly about something like Ozempic, but more broadly it's about the lengths that society push women
to go to look young.
Yeah, exactly. An idea like that, you can turn it into something external. So it's internal states being expressed externally through body horror. So,
I'd love to know the demographic of people that are attracted to that kind of film.
Oh, horror fans are definitely they're a niche. I say niche, but like horror films. We were talking about film budgets earlier. As long as movies have been made, low budget horror movies have been like the consistent. They always make money because you can make them for, I don't know about The Substance, but generally you can make. There's a glut of sub $1 million budget horror movies every year, and they all make 6 or 7 million.
My daughter and her partner love horror. Absolutely love it. Like, they go and see the most disgusting thing, and then they rate it. They have like this rating thing that they do together about it, and they don't seem upset.
No.
They don't get upset by the horror or the gore. They just rate the horror like this is something that they've enjoyed watching. And I just think to myself, oh, and there's 4 hours of my life I lost watching shit. Is it just young people, or do you think are there people my age that get into this?
100%.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Swear on Jesus.
Yep.
I think I want to hear from the people. I want to know if you are into this body horror gore stuff that Jonty loves, could you please reach out to us, because I'd like to do my own polling on this. I actually want to know, because I'm not convinced. I think it's a young person thing. I really do, because I think you've got an adrenal issue.
But like, I wasn't born when The Fly came out.
No, but you love it.
Yeah. There are people my parents' age and older that went and saw The Fly when it came out and still love it today.
Right.
I don't think it's a young... I think it's like spicy food.
Yeah,
like
okay.
I think it's not for everyone.
Okay.
It's definitely like, I'm not the sort of person that's like, oh, what, you don't like horror? You're a wuss. You should like horror. No. It's like, it's very much not for everyone. But I do equate it to like the line between horror and comedy, I think is very, very thin.
Whoa.
Because the experience of tension releasing.
Do people laugh?
Depends. I would say The Substance is a very funny movie. But the experience of, particularly in an audience full of strangers watching the same film, the experience of tension building and then releasing and then a physical reaction, whether it being a laugh or a scream or a squirm or a gasp, thriller or something like that, I think they're all almost identical in what's happening sociologically.
Interesting.
And the experience of watching a really scary, fantastic horror movie in a group of strangers is, for me, and I'll refer to, there's a critic, Mark Kermode, who I will refer to here. He's phenomenal. I'll put a link to this down below. He talks about this as well, that that experience of being scared out of your mind with a group is transcendent. Like that is transcendence, because in that moment you are experiencing something beyond your flesh and blood. You're experiencing something communally that makes you aware of something beyond what you can see, taste, touch, smell. And I'm butchering that thesis of his, and he has a doctorate in horror fiction, so he talks much more eloquently than I can. But that's and I do agree that horror and comedy, and even you look at something like The Substance, horrifying, gory, scary, squirmy, but also hilarious. Jordan Peele is another filmmaker who Get Out was his first one that he won Best Original Screenplay for. Hilarious, but also works as a horror movie. I do think that relationship between scares and laughs is very, very, very similar. Very similar.
Do you think these horror movies would cut it in Russia or Ukraine at the moment, or Gaza, where there is real life horror going on? Do you think they'd be attracted to going and watching horror?
It's a good question that I don't know the answer to, but what I will say is you can track horror movies throughout history as directly talking about the real life things that are happening.
Yeah.
So, for example, and I know you're not going to have watched any of these movies, but the quote unquote torture porn movement in the 2000s with things
that's at the top of my list, Jonty.
I guessed. Things like Saw, Hostel, like those movies are a direct response to the use of torture by the American government in the Bush administration. You can very clearly go...
Like Guantanamo Bay
all
torture.
that stuff, yeah. So you can very clearly go, the public was suddenly being fed these images of what the United States were doing overseas with their foreign policy in the war against terror. 2 or 3 years later, all these movies come out that are about that. You go all the way back to the 1950s. All the science fiction films are about some sort of alien coming in, and it's the fear of the other. They're all a direct response to communism and the Red Scare. So
interesting.
I wrote a piece for Insights magazine, which I can link down below as well, about how last year we got 2 films came out within 2 weeks of each other that are both horror films, The First Omen and Immaculate, that are explicitly about female reproductive rights. That's no accident. Those are the things that...
Hot topic.
Hot topics, exactly. So I would not be surprised if in the next 5 or 10 years we see a glut of films that aren't explicitly about the conflicts that are happening, but are definitely informed by them, because that's how cinema works.
Yeah. Fascinating insight, Jonty.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
The only other ones worth probably talking about before we go and talk about some other stuff is Wicked, which I think we spent a whole episode on recently.
Yeah, we did.
Have you seen it again since we talked about it?
No, I haven't watched. Oh, no, I haven't watched it a second time. No, I just loved it. I loved it, and I get lots of feeds. So I enjoyed the music and the characters and the big dance sequence and the costuming and the set design. I just think it was wonderful. It was just such escapism.
Yeah. I haven't seen
Really
it a second
enjoyed
time
it.
yet, but I'm planning on it.
Yeah, it was a beautiful, easy watch.
I'll just blast through real quick the actors and actresses.
Yeah, please.
Actor in a leading role, Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. I think he just today came out that it was the longest recorded acceptance speech in Oscars history.
No, please let me keep going.
Yeah,
he said, didn't
he's
he?
like, a couple of years ago, I've done this before.
Yeah, that's right. Can I just ask you about The Brutalist before you crack open that list? Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Do you know the synopsis of that?
Vaguely. It's about a Hungarian, I think, refugee that comes to America and is a struggling architect.
Interesting.
I've seen some commentary about it having some potentially hot button commentary around the Zionist movement and what's happening with Israel and Gaza and Palestine.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like 3.5 hours long with an intermission. And like I said, I was traveling around Argentina when it came out, so I didn't have a chance to see it. But yeah, so Adrian Brody, that's his second win. He won for The Pianist.
Yes.
Which was 2002,
like
I think.
As a young man.
Yeah.
I was reading about that.
20-something years ago.
Yeah, super young. And I wonder what happened in his life between then and now. It sounds like there was some struggles, some personal struggles and things he wished he'd done differently. I'm just reading between the lines of what he sort of said and what I've read about him. I'd be interested to know more about that because he talked about having a second chance.
Yes.
Which I thought, that's interesting.
Yeah. I haven't seen heaps of him. He plays a supporting role in The Grand Budapest Hotel. Have you seen that one?
No.
He's hilarious in that. But I haven't seen heaps of him. And when I think of him, I think of The Pianist. Because he's, I don't know if you've seen that one, but it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I would say, and this might be controversial, I kind of like it more than Schindler's List.
Whoa.
They're kind of a pairing, very similar because they're both about the Holocaust, but they're both very similar stories.
Schindler's List for a long time.
Timothy Chalamet for a complete unknown. I'm not a Bob Dylan guy, so I haven't gone out to see that one. Coleman Domingo in Sing Sing. I haven't had a chance to see that one yet either. Ralph Fiennes for Conclave. I think that monologue where he talks about the sin of certainty almost single-handedly got him that nomination. I just think it's phenomenal.
Oh, great. Bit of writing that.
Yeah. There's something along the lines of hopefully whoever is Pope next is a Pope who doubts, has faith and carries on, I think is the...
Good job.
Yeah, phenomenal. And Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. Have you heard of this one? So he plays Donald Trump.
No.
It's phenomenal. It's
funny?
So good. Yeah, but not in a laugh out loud funny way. It's kind of horrifying. So it's
irony.
So it's written by a journalist. So he treated it as like digging around and doing some journalism. So it's his early days before this is in the 70s when he's getting into property in New York. And at the beginning, none of the Trump mannerisms are there yet. But gradually...
They develop?
Yeah. By the end of the film, when he sits down with the guy that Ghost wrote his book for him, The Art of the Deal, by that point, he's transformed into Trump. Yeah.
Wow.
Phenomenal. I'd highly recommend it. And it came out, obviously, last year during the election race, and the Trump campaign were outraged that it depicted him sexually assaulting his wife, even though she testified in court years ago, and then I think from memory it was settled out of court. So nothing was based on speculation. It's all based on record.
He hated it?
Oh, he was like, it's a gross defamation of my character. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, sure.
Fire them.
Yeah, exactly. Actor in a supporting role, we have Kieran Culkin for Real Pain. He's phenomenal in that. Yuri Borisov in Honora. He's the young Russian kid. Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown, which I haven't seen. Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, and Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice. So Jeremy Strong plays the guy whose name I've now forgotten, who is the Trump is his protege, and he teaches Trump everything he knows.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's phenomenal in that. Actress in a leading role, Mikey Madison for Honora. Cynthia Erivo. Mikey Madison won for Honora. Yeah. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked as Elphaba. Carla Sofia Gascon, that's their name, is the actress in Amelia Perez, Demi Moore in The Substance, and Fernanda Torres in I'm Still Here. And then in a supporting role, Zoe Saldana won for Amelia Perez. Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown. Ariana Grande for Wicked, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, and Isabella Rossellini for Conclave. Which I was thrilled to see her get a nod because she, like we talked about, is kind of in the background for most of it.
Such a short monologue.
Yeah.
And only a few sentences, but is so powerful in her silence.
Yeah.
It's great.
So, I mean, we can move on now to some other stuff, but before we do, just real quick again, the Best Picture nominees: Anora, highly recommend. The Brutalist, haven't had a chance to see it yet. A Complete Unknown, I don't know if I will see it because I'm not a huge Bob Dylan. If you've seen it and you think it's fantastic and I'm an idiot for not going to see it, let me know. Because once it comes to streaming, I'll probably watch it. Conclave, Dune Part 2, which we haven't really talked about, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, which I meant to give a shout out as well, is fantastic. The Substance, and Wicked. So if you're looking for a movie to watch, all of them will be on streaming.
There's a
if
lot.
Not now, soon, because that's usually what happens.
They say like 30 days after hitting the box office, then they hit streaming.
Well, and that's why I say the Oscars is as much a marketing thing as anything else, because it's basically free marketing.
Yep.
And then the studios go, great, everyone's aware of these movies, let's put them up on streaming so people can watch them.
Yeah, incredible. Hey, thanks for that.
No worries. I thought to go on, I've talked a bunch.
Yeah, great.
What are your favourite movies, Ness?
Okay. You asked me this question and I feel embarrassed to share it really because it's very my era, I think.
That's great.
Boring female stuff. And I feel embarrassed because yours are going to be so much more edgy, Jonty.
You'd be surprised.
Okay, so Grease.
Yep.
I just love it. You're the one that I want. Do up to doobie doo.
I couldn't even tell you how many times I've seen that.
Oh, I know. I just love it. I just absolutely love it. It just put a smile on my face. I love Rizzo. I love them all. Just love it. I know all the routines. I know the dances. I just launch into the songs. I just love it.
Are you a big Travolta fan?
Yeah, absolutely. I was a kid growing up with Travolta in the 70s and I just wanted to be him. I didn't want to be Sandy. I wanted to be him. Or Kaniki. I think I liked Kaniki.
He was him with the leather jacket and the perfect curl of hair.
Totally cool as, you know.
Did
you like Grease?
Yeah. That was one of the early movies I remember seeing as a kid. I was just going to say as well, I remember a friend of the show, Somerset Drayton, telling me at one point that I looked like, what's the character's name? John Travolta's?
Danny.
Yeah.
Danny Zuko.
Because I just had a plain white shirt tucked into black jeans with a belt and a black jacket. She's like, you look like Danny.
Oh, I love that.
I'll take it.
I love that.
I'll take it.
He's so hot. Oh, the choreo was great. It was just beautiful. It was just, I swear that they were probably in love with each other at the time.
Just because of the chemistry.
The chemistry was just off the charts. And a part of that, I think, makes just that that makes a film, doesn't it? When you really believe that they really do love each other.
Did you see We Live in Time? It's
No.
the Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield one that's out at the moment. I won't yak on about it, but chemistry, like just
Beautiful.
off the wazoo. And all the marketing and hype was around seeing those two in a movie together.
Yeah, wow.
And it's just, you can't believe that they're not those characters.
Interesting.
Just because the chemistry is so off the charts.
Yeah, interesting. Do you want to go one for one?
Sure. I've got a list of 10 and I did a really nerdy thing and ordered them in release date from like oldest to newest.
You are such a nerd. I love it.
You're gonna love this. Paths of Glory.
I don't even know that.
So it's a Stanley Kubrick film from the 1950s.
Oh.
And it's a war drama where, I won't say any more than that, but Kirk Douglas is in it. And I love Paths of Glory because it's one of very, very few movies that are about war that I think are actually truly anti-war.
Okay.
60 to 70% of it from about the half-hour mark is a courtroom drama as they kind of work through the ramifications of what happens in the first act in the trenches. Highly recommend Paths of Glory. I think it's on Stan.
Interesting. I won't be watching that.
Okay.
I'll go to bed
missing out.
and Rob is in love with war movies.
I will say I wouldn't say it's, like there's no violence. It's a courtroom drama.
Righto.
So it's mostly
I can't do
white dudes
trenches
in
killing
offices
crap.
and white dudes in uniforms talking to each other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, my next one is The Sound of Music.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just grew up with that and have seen that every school holidays that it comes on Channel 7 or Channel 9, and Mum would sit us down and my sister and I would just like hook right in. It's very long, that one.
Yeah, it's 3 and a bit hours from memory.
Long. Yeah, it's a big commitment, but I just does never get old. You know, just love it so much.
Yeah, it's just hearing you talk about it. Martin Scorsese, famous director, talks about one sock movies.
Yeah.
Where they're movies where when he's getting ready to go out and the TV's on, he's got
And
one
he
sock on and
doesn't
he sees it on. He just ends up sitting there watching the movie with one sock on.
I love that. That's cool.
One sock movies.
Yeah,
if it's on, you watch it.
Oh, you just stop, don't you? That's right, because it's just fantastic. We don't have to wait for go through the ad breaks these days. We can just watch it from beginning to end, which is so great. Because as a kid, we had to just wait for the ads to happen. You know, I suppose it gave you a toilet break in a 3.5 hour movie.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you?
Next one I have is a movie called Carnival of Souls. It's and again, like I said, we're going from early to today. So
Tell
this
us when
is
that
from
one.
the 1960s. I want to say 62.
Okay. Neither of us were born, babe.
I know.
Yeah.
It's one of the best movies we made in the 50s and 60s.
Okay. Golden era of Hollywood, are we talking?
Well, so, yeah, I mean, I was being kind of flippant
Cheeky.
there, but I actually think the 70s. But, yeah, 62, it's a spooky, gothic ghost movie.
Right.
That's very, very contained. It's very quaint. It's very quiet. Yeah, and just the imagery in it, and it's so beautiful. It's one of those, it's like a fairy tale where it's so beautiful in its language and in its cinematography and in its pacing, but it's got that fairy tale thing of just under the surface, there's something not right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I saw it for the first time 3 or 4 years ago, and there's an abandoned carnival, like circus tent, big tenty thing that's like in the distance in like the fields in at one point that I genuinely have dreams about, like driving along the road and see the carnival off in the distance.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Wow,
So that's a
Jonty.
favourite of mine.
You ready for my next one?
Yeah, hit me with it.
The complete Santa Claus series.
Okay.
Yep, I know.
I can't even picture which ones these
Tim
are.
Allen falls off the roof.
Oh,
Yeah, Santa Claus.
yeah.
Is that what they're called?
I
And
think
there's Santa
so.
Claus 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah.
The third one with Jack Frost.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen them. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know if I've actually watched them.
Was it an 80s genre?
I don't know.
Proper or 90s? Gosh, I don't know, but I pull those out at Christmas time and make the family watch them. We put the air conditioning on high, we make hot chocolates, we order pizza.
I think I have seen the
They're
first
just
one.
so happy.
It's 1994.
On the
one.
90s. Yeah, wow. There's nothing not to like. It's romantic comedy. It's fun. It's Christmas themed.
Holiday theme, yeah.
Rudolph. It's just, makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Like joy. It's just like my eyes can't get wide enough when I watch it and I just like cry because I just love it so much.
Yeah.
It's that. Yeah,
That's
we have
awesome.
to watch them in sequence.
Yeah. I love movies that have like that tradition attached to them.
Oh, it's like you and Love Actually on New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve.
Every year we watch less and less of it.
Yeah, do you? Yeah, that's right.
We're
Because
just
it's
out
in the background.
drinking. Yeah, it's in the background.
Okay, your
for
turn.
Sure. Next one I've got here is a movie called Andrei Rublev, which is a Russian movie from the 1960s. I'm going to blast through this because I'm going to bore everyone else. 1966, Andrei Tarkovsky, he's a Russian Soviet filmmaker. He has 7 films. All of them are amazing. I could have put any of them in here. I just picked this one because that's how I was feeling today. It's a kind of historical epic about an artist, but it kind of takes place amongst some pretty crazy Russian history. There's one sequence in particular with like a bell tower being constructed. That's like the most jaw-dropping thing you'll ever watch on the big screen. similar to Sound of Music. I think it's like 3 hours and 40 minutes long.
Yeah, wow.
So you definitely watch it with an intermission.
Yeah.
I also could have put in Stalker is another one of his, which is based on a novel, which is a alien presence, unspecified, has landed just in the countryside, and the government have set up like an exclusion zone around it. Mm-hmm. And a stalker is someone who people pay him to take them into the exclusion zone to get to the center where there's meant to be a room where with like a metaphorical wishing well that'll grant you a wish.
Wow.
So it takes place with them going through the countryside into the exclusion zone.
Interesting.
Yeah. Super like raises lots of philosophical questions about choice and fate. And
you are a very interesting human being, Jonty.
just wait. Because I've gone.
So
we're in the 50s and 60s. It gets whack as we keep going.
Oh, you are hilarious, man. You really are.
What's next for you?
Okay, Top Gun 1 and 2.
Cool.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, I just say
I'm so glad you like the second one.
I can hear the music. Oh, mate, I've seen that twice in the cinema, and I've watched it. I think I've seen it 3 times.
Yeah, I've probably seen it 2 or 3 times
and
as well.
I just, my eyes go wide open. I sit there and go, yeah! I get so pumped up. It's like one of those, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
It's so fun. I don't know what it is. It's an adrenal love fest. I mean, it's got romantic thing in it. It's got power. It's got fuck you going on. It's got all the excitement. It's got war overtones. It's just cinematography in that last one. And the fact that Tom was actually in the back of one of those fighters being filmed, knowing which way he had to lean and move and behave and carry on. It's just like the dude, whether you like him or not, he is just committed to the craft.
Yeah.
Is he not? Did he direct that?
No, Joe Kosinski directed that one.
Great movie.
But it with that and also the Mission Impossible stuff, they kind of may as well be co-directed by Tom Cruise because like Chris McQuarrie's directed the last handful of those. But you watch all the behind-the-scenes stuff, it's basically him and Tom Cruise
together
doing everything together.
Yeah, a lot of Tom's money, I'm thinking.
Those movies start with Tom Cruise going, wouldn't it be cool if I did this? And then like, have you seen the most recent Mission Impossible?
Is that where he...
Dead Reckoning is what it's called.
Yes, I have. Can you remind me, are they driving and he's...
he does a base jump off motorbike off the cliff onto the train.
Oh, yeah.
So that started because Tom Cruise goes, I want to ride a bike off a cliff. And then Chris McQuarrie goes, I've always wanted to crash a train. And they go, great, we'll do that in one sequence. So like those movies start with Tom Cruise going, I want to do a thing. And then they work a script around it. So like is it Ghost Protocol where he climbs up the outside of the Burj Khalifa in Abu Dhabi?
Yes.
Insane. And he did that for real.
He's such an interesting cat, isn't he?
Oh yeah, there's in Mission Impossible 6, which is the one with Henry Cavill, Mission Impossible Fallout. The take that they use in one sequence is the take in which Tom Cruise breaks his ankle and keeps acting.
Wow.
And runs off frame.
Wow.
So like he's so committed.
In agony.
He jumps between 2 buildings. And in the landing process, breaks his ankle and jogs off.
Oh, my gosh.
And then they had to shut down production. But he was so committed that he finished the shot and then was like, I just broke my ankle. Got to go.
See, that just blows my mind. Really does, the commitment. Just when I know that one of his movies are coming out, I get very excited.
Mission Impossible 8's about to come out.
Yeah, I just love the franchise. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing not to love. It's just a great day out. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it so much I'll even do burgers after it. It's that good.
Yeah, wow.
Do you know what I mean? Make it like an absolute event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know why I remember Top Gun Maverick specifically? The first time I saw it, I went with Claire because like you, I think I saw it twice in the theatres. Someone was like dry retching in the row behind us.
Oh, wow. Because they were, why?
No idea.
Okay.
So we just had to get up and like,
that's
I checked they're
awful.
okay and they seemed, they were still dry retching. We're like, I don't really feel like getting spewed up.
Wow.
It's weird the things you remember.
Yeah, I get you. Before you were born, in the 80s when I met Rob, he was in San Diego, and the Top Gun fleet would do touch and goes out over San Diego. And Rob would take me on his motorbike to the cliffs of San Diego, and we would watch them, watch these Top Gun pilots.
Planes, yeah.
Yeah, it was just phenomenal. And the movie had just come out, and we all were wearing bloody Ray-Bans. We had the denim jackets. We had leather jackets. We had shoulder pads. We had the whole look going on, Jonty. The whole entire thing. It was just, And to have that roll back again, was it last year, that movie?
2022, I want to say.
Oh,
23.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It feels sooner than, not as, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gee, time flies.
Time does fly.
I loved it. What about you? Next one.
Next one for me is The Graduate.
Oh, okay.
You seen The Graduate?
Yeah, very long time. Are we in the 70s now?
67.
Oh, shit, I was one.
Next one's in the 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, what's the next one?
I love The Graduate so much. I watch it 2 or 3 times a year.
Oh, Jonty.
I just love it. And part of it is I'm such, like, my earliest memories of listening to music is Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, yeah.
So it's as much
Me
about
too.
the movie as it is the music and everything about it. I
Loved
just love
Simon
it.
and Garfunkel. Grew up on that music, Jonty, I did.
Yeah.
Mum and Dad had the albums on the record player.
Yeah, I vividly remember going on holidays in the Blue Mountains at a holiday house and opening up a cupboard. I would have been, Mum will probably correct me on this, 8 or 9, and found a bunch of vinyl records.
Wow.
Pulled one out.
And it was Simon
Simon and Garfunkel. And I physically put it on and put the needle down and
cool.
was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So like I have strong connections to that stuff.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, it was definitely a period in time, wasn't it? Amazing. Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. Okay.
Do you have any others?
Yeah, I love a good period drama. And I bore you all shitless with my Bridgerton period drama palaver. But I think things like Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility.
Yeah. The 2000s ones, like the...
Yeah, definitely. Were they 2000?
Something like that. Or maybe late 90s.
Yeah, I think it's been made. They've been made so many times.
Because there's
I know
famous...
Keira Knightley was in a more recent one, but there's ones that are much older than that.
So that's the one I'm thinking of.
With Emma Thompson. So going back, I'm imagining that was the 80s, maybe, Jonty. But they're just the story. You know, it doesn't really matter when it was made in my brain. It's actually the story that
timeless.
I fall in love with. I love anything period. I really do. It's just because it's always around a love interest, isn't it? They're always and it's the purity of how they do love depicted in those stories.
It's very repressed, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, it's all in.
It's beautiful.
Very.
Yeah,
not like
virginal.
It's almost like there's huge emotional moves going on, but everyone's very particular, and so it's all in like the slightest giveaways and the slightest movements,
the slightest touch of her dress, or the slightest brushing past her hand, or the dropping of the hanky, or the ribbon over the shoulder. It's just all of that. I think it builds a tension that we don't have in movies like we've talked about that have won the Oscars this year, where it's just big, sexy scenes, raunchy, sexy scenes with lots of skin, whereas you can feel the love intensely in these period dramas. I think it's really clever how they do it. I think it's a whole lot trickier from a cinematography perspective than it would be, frontal nude scene, close set, they do the scripted sex scene. I think that's... I would prefer to sit down and watch one of these. I sound like such a prude, don't I?
I was going to say, I have a recommendation for you based on that.
Sorry, I sound like such a dag. Have I become the old lady I never wanted to become? It's time for a haircut. It's time for a haircut.
We'll have a buzz cut next week. I have a recommendation for you based on that. Have you heard of Portrait of a Lady on Fire?
No.
You're going to love it.
Is it period?
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
It's French, 1800s.
Subtitles?
Yeah, subtitles, 1800, set in the 1800s. It's recent, like 2018 or 19.
Okay.
And it's about a woman who has recently become engaged.
Yep.
But like in classic 1800s.
Yep. Genre?
is being forced into that marriage.
Oh, no.
And she goes away and falls in love with a woman who's I can't remember what her role is, but basically it's a forbidden love to women and in 1800s France.
Whoa.
There's that added layer of like taboo with two women. And it's, like you say, it's very delicate, very
gentle.
like heartbreaking, but also like in the best possible way. Like it's a really heartbreaking but affirming love
Did she
story.
end up marrying the...
Well, that'd be a spoiler. You got to watch the movie, Ness.
I like knowing the ending.
No.
Oh, I prefer to know an ending, then I can relax. It's a thing for me. It's an anxiety thing, Jonty.
Okay.
If I know the ending, then I can relax through the whole movie because I'm not going to be tricked or surprised.
Okay. Well,
Isn't that
I will
funny?
say there's no big like surprises or twists.
Okay.
In it.
Yeah, okay. I can
What
do
you
that.
think's going to happen at the end happens.
Oh, sad.
Yeah.
Oh, poor woman.
So I think because it's
Is it based on a true story?
no.
Okay.
No. But yeah, period piece.
I love it.
Very delicate.
Thanks
All
for
the
that.
costumes.
Yeah, the cozies, the settings, the detail to the period.
Yeah.
And set design and antique furniture. I love all of that. Since I was a little kid, I've loved all that. Not since I've become a daggy old lady. It's since I've been little, I have loved that stuff.
Yeah. I
Isn't that
reckon
interesting?
You'll love Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Thanks.
Sounds right up your alley.
What's yours?
My next one, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, good movie.
The 1971.
Yeah, I pay that.
I couldn't tell you how many times I've watched it.
Oh,
Every
interesting.
time I watch it, I see something new in it.
Yep.
I just think it's as close to a perfect movie as exists.
Oh, you're so sweet. Can I tell you,
yeah.
I'm kind of relieved you've got that on your list.
Yeah?
Yeah, because you're a bit of a weirdo. You know
Yeah, you know what's after it?
what?
The Exorcist,
Oh yeah, no.
1974.
Yeah,
Or
okay.
73, sorry.
Yeah, wow. I can only pay that because I've met Linda.
Yeah. Which still blows my mind.
It's too funny.
That's the duality of man, isn't it? The Exorcist and Willy Wonka.
I know. I just love that you love that, but it's just that the story. I could almost hear the story more than I can actually watch that film. I find it too stressful.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
do well with horror and that kind of thematic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said earlier, it's like spicy food.
Yeah.
If you don't like hot food,
Yeah.
like it's not like you've got to. No one's forcing you to put hot sauce on your lasagna.
Yes, yeah,
like,
fair enough.
And people that do force hot sauce into everything, it's like, what are you doing? You're ruining
ruining your
it.
taste
you know?
buds, mate.
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
No.
Yeah. Do you have any more on your list?
I've got one more genre.
Yep.
Because it encapsulates so many.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
I think I know what this is, but go ahead.
There's a couple, and it's the Marvel franchise. So it's
It's not what I was expecting.
okay. Well, I am going to go Disney because I know that you would expect that was my thing, and I can't wait to see Snow White because that's just been released. So I'm really excited to go and
Brand
see
new
that.
Snow White.
It's a brand new Snow White. Yeah.
There you go.
So I'm looking forward to seeing that, but I just fell in love with, like, a big crush on Iron Man.
Yep, fair enough.
Oh, he's just, I don't know what that is. I just loved that storyline. I felt really sad when they wrote him off. And if I go down the Disney thing, Pirates of the Caribbean, that series, I loved Johnny in all of that. That character is just a crack up. I love that genre and entertainment. Yeah, I feel entertained by watching those movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
That's my list.
There's a really interesting thing that I've talked to a few people about. There's this thing where people sometimes prefer Iron Man, for example, in the big team-up movies, and
right.
aren't actually that much of a fan of the movies themselves, like Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. Someone I was talking to recently said the same thing about Doctor Strange.
Yeah, right.
They feel like the two Doctor Strange standalone movies are fine, but the character of Doctor Strange really comes to life
in the other movies.
In Avengers.
Yeah, love the Avengers. Yeah, it's great. I think I prefer when Tony Stark is doing Iron Man and the other characters have vignettes.
Sure.
Whereas he's the lead.
Yeah.
And it's all about Iron Man. And then...
Well, he kind of falls into that role with the Avengers, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
He's kind of the lead.
Yeah. And then the other dudes, come in and assist in different ways.
Yeah, because that first arc really is... It starts and ends with Iron Man.
Yeah.
He's really the main character.
Yeah, it's how it started, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and they've kind
Good franchise. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like this definitely isn't an original thought, but I've just had it. I wonder if part of the reason since Avengers Endgame, they haven't quite hit their stride in the same way as they don't have that Iron Man figure. They don't have that single... He's not quite the main character, but he's the one that really tied that first 10 years together.
Phenomenal.
I don't really have that.
No, they
yet
don't.
with what's happened since then.
Good, hilarious conversation.
I have
you got
heaps
the last
to say
one?
about. Well, yeah, I'll just rip through the last 4 of these really quick. I have to honour the late David Lynch, who passed away earlier this year with Eraserhead, which is his first feature-length movie. I could have put it's cheating, but I could also have put the TV series of Twin Peaks in there, which is
I know you love that.
his stuff as well. But really, any of his feature films, but Eraserhead, a lot of the time will float to the top for me. It's a really surreal, creepy, but like bizarre, surrealist black and white film that makes no sense. It's one that you feel, you don't understand, which I like.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a wild card. Gremlins 2.
Oh, that is so left of where you were going, brother.
So I love Gremlins.
Yeah.
And I watch Gremlins every year for Christmas. But Gremlins 2 is like a 90-minute feature-length Looney Tunes movie. Like it's joke a minute. When there isn't a verbal joke, there's a background visual joke. It's just constant the whole movie. It is so funny.
Yeah, wow.
And it's an early example of speaking of Marvel starts to get self-aware at a certain point, and like Deadpool starts making fun of Marvel movies.
Yes.
Gremlins 2 is like a piss take of Gremlins.
Okay.
And it came out in the 90s.
Yeah, wow.
So I just love Gremlins 2.
And I love that you love it. That makes me feel better about you.
Then the last 2 of these are recent. So Lake Mungo is an Australian movie that came out in 2008. It's a found footage faux documentary.
Wow.
That's like the most authentically Australian thing I've ever seen, which is about I hesitate to call it a horror movie because it's not. But yeah, it's about a young girl, late teenager, I think, drowns in the lake and they find the body, but then the family start to experience strange things happening in the house. Is it her ghost is kind of the setup. And so they set up cameras and it kind of just predates the paranormal activity stuff, but it's not that. It's very grounded. And it's just like really like devastating, but also like really warm in how it presents some of that stuff that it's talking about. A little bit hard to find, but if you can find Lake Mungo, highly recommend it. And then the last one is from 2020 is a movie called Possessor, which is talking about horror movies and body horror. Goes full circle all the way back to David Cronenberg. This is written and directed by Brandon Cronenberg, who is the son of David Cronenberg, famous for The Fly, Videodrome, etc. Is about a agency that have the ability they have possessors who are people that they can implant into other people to carry out hits. So it starts with Andrei Riseborough's character getting implanted into a young girl, like teenager, takes over her body, takes out the hit, so kills someone, and then the host terminates, so commits suicide, and then she zips back out into her own body. She's in like a headset back in like a bunker type deal. So as far as anyone else is concerned, the person that they wanted to kill gets killed by someone else who then commits suicide. So it's like a clean espionage way of taking out hits. So the story happens when Andrei Riseborough's character, they lock onto this character who's played by, I've forgotten his last name now. Doesn't matter. He's a great actor. I've just blanked on his name. He was just in Craven the Hunter as the dude that has superpowers. He's the son of like the CEO of this tech company, so they're trying to like. There's implications that the hitmen, the company that have the possessors, are trying to like break into the tech company and like blah 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 blah. So she locks into him, possesses him, tries to take out the hit, but he pushes back. So it's like for most of the movie, you're not sure who is in control of the main character.
Whoa.
I won't say where it goes beyond that, but it's a really, really interesting movie. We talked recently about doppelgangers and doubles and the let them theory and severance and all that sort of stuff. It goes to that deep,
interesting
fear that is a really present thing with social media and with our digital selves, where it's like, we're not in control of how people interact with our presentations of ourselves.
Yep.
So it's a sci-fi. It gets pretty gory. So I would also caution people, like it's a body horror movie, but it's science fiction. It's got all that. So if you're a sci-fi person, I'm particularly thinking of Odd Rev, who listens to the show, go and watch Possessor. I think you'll love it. I could have listed 30 movies, but those are my 10 for today.
You have the most eclectic arrangement of top 10. You just fascinate me.
Went from Paths of Glory to Possessor.
You are the most interesting human being. I feel so shallow and so boring. You are just incredibly interesting. Jonty Cornford.
I'll take that as a compliment.
You are really an interesting human being. Yeah, you really are.
Now might be a good time to, we've talked about this year putting together a film club.
Yeah.
If there are enough people that have listened to this episode and go, I'd be down to get together once a month and watch a movie and talk about it, let us know. Because if there is interest, we will do it.
How cool.
How cool would that be?
Like seriously cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether it's on Zoom or in person.
Oh, fun as.
Really, it's driven by people that listen to this show. If there is interest,
if there's a desire,
we'll make it happen. So,
yeah. We could even do it at a venue.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Put it on a big screen. And
funner. We have food.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, we've just started Lent.
Yeah.
Are you giving anything up for Lent this year, Ness?
Heck no. No way, mate.
Neither.
No, not going to do that. No.
A friend of mine, I won't say who it is, but I'm sure he's fine with me sharing, said at our Bible study group that he's going to give up sleeping on his bed.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't have laughed.
No, but
is that a serious, real life thing?
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna put down like a little, like one of the little like camping mattress things on my floor.
Right.
And I'm gonna give up sleeping in my bed.
Why?
He lasted one night.
Yeah, and okay, but what was his thinking behind this?
I'll just give up something that you're like is a comfort.
But why? How is that saving the world?
It's not about saving the world. It's like fasting.
I don't think it is like fasting.
Okay, well,
was he?
That's what Lent is. The fasting of Lent is about. Like you give up your coffee or you give up your chocolate to make room for becoming closer to God in preparation for Easter.
If you do come closer to God.
Yeah, well, that's why it's about doing it with the right intention. Yeah. And I think he realised after one night that this isn't actually going to do.
No, he's just going to end up at the physio with the sore.
Yeah, and he said he woke up in the morning and just hurt all over.
Yeah, that's right.
Also, he was going away with his girlfriend for their anniversary.
Oh, mate.
What was he going to do? Like,
I booked the Shangri-La, babe, but I'm sleeping on the floor.
Exactly.
Oh, I love the intention. But what about people that want to add something to their life?
Yeah.
Okay, for Lent. What if it's adding a devotional to your life, adding more one-on-one time with Jesus to your life? What if it is adding
a meditation or a mindfulness?
Yeah, Christian meditation, or more time caring for your health and well-being so that you're caring for your temple that God talks about, Jesus talks about. What if it's adding on, not subtracting?
Yeah. Yeah, look, I know lots of people do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting though, like, because you've talked in the past a lot about fasting.
I'm a fan of the fasting.
Yeah. So I wonder if like...
But I just don't know. I just don't know. And I'd be keen to know from people. And I've got a very good mate that absolutely, she'll be in Lent at the moment and she won't be doing meat and she won't be doing coffee for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And she is so committed to that. Her and her husband. I'm so impressed. I fangirl her. But I know what she does with that. She absolutely makes this a precious time with her husband and God.
Yeah.
They do it. They spend precious time praying and committed to this fasting process.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they introduce coffee and meat back into their lifestyle again, and it's really welcomed, and they feast, and it's just beautiful. I love how she does that, and it really does draw her closer to God. I worked with her so closely, and I watched her do it. It was just amazing.
And I'm assuming it wasn't about her coming to work and being like, hey,
No,
guys,
never.
I'm giving up meat and coffee.
Never.
Like, it's never about being able to tell people what you're giving up.
I only knew because I would say, hey, babe, let's go and get a coffee. And she said, oh, Ness, I can't.
Fasting.
Yeah, I'm fasting. I think, oh, shit. Then I'd feel bad because I'd lured her. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Oh, Jesus won't. No, you sure don't want a cappuccino? Ness, don't do that to me, she'd say. Say, oh, I'm so sorry, babe. You know, yeah, amazing. It's really impressive. Yeah. Just do whatever you need to do, I think, to draw yourself closer to the Lord.
And I think now is
whatever
a
works.
Perfect time, and that's why more so than the fasting thing, Lent for me is about preparing for Easter.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're a Christian, like I've been a Christian my entire life.
Yep.
I've been through 26 Easters.
Yeah.
So I've heard the story, and you hear the story
times.
all year anyway.
Yeah.
But I was having a conversation to someone recently about this, like how you make sure that these pivotal moments in the calendar, you don't like become desensitized to them.
Yeah, 100%.
Because Jesus dying and resurrecting
Pretty
is
serious
the
gig.
thing, right?
It's the gig.
And so that's my, I guess,
I love that.
for our listeners to ponder as we get closer, to Easter, but also Easter week is our 150th episode.
Is it?
I'm sure we'll do something
150th episode, Jonty.
Yeah.
In Holy Week.
Yeah, I think it's the Tuesday after Easter Sunday.
Wow.
Or before. It's right around then.
Amazing. Yeah.
So yeah, start to think now. Like, what is Easter for you, and how can you prepare to encounter the death and resurrection story fresh? Because as is, I think, often misquoted from C.S. Lewis, but I'll use it anyway.
Yeah.
Either the death and resurrection didn't happen, so it doesn't mean anything, or it did, and it's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like, nothing is more important than that. So
I'm on that one.
yeah. Tickets for our live shows, links down below. Come and see us at time of this coming out. Our next one will be at Borkham Hills with Dr. Ali Robinson on the 6th of April. Tickets will be live by the time this podcast comes out, so grab your free tickets there.
So cool.
Love to see you there. Into the Word will be coming back soon as well.
Yeah.
We've had a bit of a hiatus because, as people that listen will know, we've both been quite unwell.
We had a shocking February, you and I.
Yeah, terrible.
It was a terrible thing.
Real bad. But we haven't recorded any of those yet. So if you have any ideas or things you want us to talk about, get in touch now, because chances are we'll be able to work that into it to what we do for the rest of the year for that as well. Support us if you want by buying merch online. That'll be up as well. Thanks to people that bought it in person at that last live show. If you want it to be a little bit cheaper and you don't have to pay for shipping, come to a live show. You can buy it there for a little bit cheaper. We've got those black shirts and the white shirts as well as the black caps.
They're cool.
I've seen a couple in the wild now as well.
I'm loving that. Yeah.
Which is super cool. And if you want to support us in a really easy way, just drop us a 5-star review or leave us a review on Spotify or subscribe to the YouTube channel. I will say this, and I haven't run this past you, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
First person that I see that writes a written 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
Free piece of merch.
I'm loving that.
Of your choice. You can get a hat or a t-shirt.
Perfect.
So get in there and leave us a review because it does help. It means that it shows up on people's podcast feeds. So it'll get us wonderful. To more people. Thanks for talking.
Thanks,
We've yacked on long enough, I think.
Yeah, I think we milked the movie scene. Yeah. And red carpet done. I never even talked about the outfits.
I know. But that's next week.
Okay.
We'll do an hour just on the outfits.
No outfits. Next time I want to talk about what shall we say? A bit of a book review of Thomas G. Long, Evil, Suffering and the Crisis of Faith.
Sick.
Nice light topic.
Yeah.
Talk about body horror. Yeah. Let's do it.
Does Margaret Qualley crawl out of my back when we do that?
No.
Got got to take the substance.
You're funny.
We'll see you next week, guys.
See you then.
Talk to you then.
This is